One by one, my kids grew up. They did outstanding jobs in school. They graduated with honors. They went on to college. And from college, they got married. Then they got married and they got their own family. They didn't come back. I'm still 30 miles from the grocery store, out in Crane, Oregon, surrounded by desert.
He looked at me and he said, Marianne, frankly, you're just not employable. You're not employable right now. We need to get you able to live and travel independently and be able to experience the most that you can out of your life. And right now, you don't have the tools to be able to do that. And so I want to get you in here and I want to make that happen for you.
I lost my vision in 2001. Basically, I went from sighted to like totally blind because of some climbing incident. And with no idea what to do, or nor did any of my friends or support network, social support network, had any clue like how blind people work. I had no idea.
Against the backdrop of beautiful Mount Hood, you'll find the City of Roses. Portland, Oregon, known for its mixture of cosmopolitan excitement and small-town comfort, is also the home of the headquarters of the Oregon Commission for the Blind. Eligible blind Oregonians may access services through field offices across the state. Teachers and vocational counselors work with individuals in acquiring the alternative skills and technologies for optimizing independence and success in employment. Our agency has worked for more than half a century to assist blind Oregonians in rising to the challenges associated with vision loss and reclaim their lives.
It was kind of an ongoing, since birth, something might be wrong with my eyes, but my family, we didn't really have money to research it and in depth. So when I got into school, that's when the real trouble started. It came down to the point where I was getting pretty much at a standstill with my life because I couldn't really get around without somebody. You know, there was times where I contemplated suicide and everything else, which is pretty selfish now, but back then it didn't seem like it. When I went to the commission, I was able to kind of get training to pursue what I wanted to pursue, and that was get a tow company and contract drivers. I bought the wrecker about a year and a half ago, and I've been slowly trying to fix it up a little bit and do some just cosmetic work to it that I'd like it to look a little nicer when you pull on a job. People give me a call when they want to get rid of a vehicle or haul scrap metal, and I buy and sell and do repairs on vehicles and resell them. My wife, she's good sport for all the vehicles I've got and stuff, so she's with me 100% on all that. So.
Blind date.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had mutual friends and went out to dinner. We talked on the phone for a couple of weeks before we met. And she said he had bad eyes. It was my girlfriend's and her boyfriend. And she said he had bad eyes when we met, and I didn't really realize, what I was getting myself into until I fell in love with you.
Yeah. After we got married, we had our oldest son, Bo. Found out 3 months after we were married that we're expecting him, and he's been an awesome help. He's just turned 4 April 12th. Then we had Colby, so he's coming up on almost a year, and they're my buddies. We have a good time together, and sometimes I do some pretty cool dances walking out here to the shop with the tripping and sliding over toys and stepping in cars and going for a ride. Oh man, you give Daddy a good time, huh? Our oldest son loves helping Dad with rigs and pumping up tires, and lets me know when there's a low tire on the whole property. And I think he's gonna work at Les Schwab for sure.
My parents didn't know that I was blind until 3 months after I was born, and my grandpa said, I think there's something wrong with this. I think there's something wrong with her. She's not reaching out the way she's supposed to be. And, I wasn't touching things. I wasn't doing the exploring thing that children do, that babies will do. They want to touch, play with your hair. Well, I didn't know it was there, so I couldn't. So in February of '98, I'll never forget it, I was just rocking away in my rocking chair at home, watching Guiding Light on TV, and a creditor calls. And only one of us in the household was pulling in any money, and it wasn't enough to support the whole house. And so a creditor calls and says, Miss Tobolewski, do you know when you're going to pay this bill? And I said, well, I'm still waiting to find work. And they said, okay, well, we'll just make a note of it. When I went for my first interview at the commission, I sat down with my counselor, and he said, I want to go through a checklist with you, and I want to find out what you're able to do and what you still need help with, so we can figure out what you really need from us. It just got to a point where he looked at me and he said, Marianne, frankly, you're just not employable. You're not employable right now. We need to get you in here, and we need to get you trained. We need to get you able to live and be able to cook and cut up your food and clean and travel independently and be able to experience the most that you can out of your life. And right now, you don't have the tools to be able to do that. So every day I would go to these classes during the week, and every day I would come home and I would cry about it, because I realized how far I was coming in such a short amount of time, and everything that I learned was like a victory for me. And every time I would come away with a new skill or a new tool to do something, I realized that I was growing in leaps and bounds. So I probably figure I probably grew a few years in just that 6-month period. So it was really, really incredible for me.
I've had Marianne working with me. First day it was for me, but now it's with me as pretty much a project manager now for 8 years. She started as a very task-oriented position because that's the tools that we had available to us.
We are GCR Custom Research. And so in '98, I started working there. Basically what I was at the time was a person who provided support for our respondents to make sure that they were able to accomplish a study, whether or not it was just a simple 15-minute web survey or a 2-month-long multi-phase project where it involved them doing several studies, testing a printer, and also coming and being a part of an on-site visit. So it was about managing the respondents, as well as making sure that my project management teams were happy with the quality of the data that they were receiving from these people.
As time went on, we incorporated new technologies and we educated each other, and now she's a global business process outsourcing manager.
I had to train my ear. So basically what I do every now and then is I will speed up JAWS, and that's what the software is called, Job Access with Speech, and that's JAWS. And so I'll speed it up every now and then so that I train my ear to understand it faster. I'm at my limit though. I haven't gone past this point for a long time. I'm at a plateau. I can't understand it any faster than this.
It was true collaboration from the first on what do you like to do? What do you want to do when you grow up? how can we find out what you like to do matches with the skill sets that we need to move this company forward? And through that collaboration, and collaboration not just with her and myself, but collaboration with our IT department and the Commission for the Blind, really made this a successful opportunity for her as well as my company.
I think that the commission is this great big toolbox because it's about knowing how to use the tools that are available to us. And the commission doesn't teach you skills, they give you tools. And so it's up to you, because life is all about choice. And I'll tell anyone that. It's not about being a victim of circumstances. It's about the choices that we make in our lives.
I lost my vision in 2001. Basically, I went from sighted to like totally blind because of some climbing incident. And with no idea what to do, or nor did any of my friends or support network, social support network, had any clue like how blind people work. I had no idea. Immediate focus was I need to earn a living and get back to and the best way to do that is get back to my old job. And how can I make that happen? I'm a mechanical engineer by background, so I spent like 7 years in grad school in America on 2 different graduate degrees. So I was totally gung-ho like in terms of my career. And the Commission for the Blind is excellent for providing a holistic approach to rehabilitation and getting you back on your feet and much, much more. So then I expanded beyond just focusing on the computers. I started pretty much going to each and every department that they have, which is excellent. It's almost like a college. And the basic skills that the Commission gave me were the groundwork upon which I could stand and then reach out on my own. They kind of set me off and then I just took off from there. That's the goal of the Commission. Most of my friends used to be climber friends because I was an aggressive alpine climber. I still am at heart. And after being blind, they were so cool. I went on many rock climb trips and crazy hikes, and I told them, hey, take me on the toughest hikes, and I don't want some wimpy maintained trail or something like that, you know. And they complied because they're all climber friends and they can be pretty aggressive. And with clear techniques, I was totally independent on my own and kept totally pace with them. I got back to work at Intel in the same job with the same pay, you know, and still going up, of course, with everybody treating me. And the great thing about my workplace is I really respect them for that. They treat me like absolutely like anybody else. So there's no mercy. And I like that because I don't want any mercy, because that'll give me the opportunities to improve and push myself further to like actually master everything that there is to master.
I lost my sight from doing drugs and I got shot. I remember what I was like in high school, very hyper and everything, and if someone would have come into the auditorium and they would have said, hey, we're gonna have a talk on drugs today, who knows if I'd even tuned into it. And if I did tune into it, I may have tuned into it for like 30 seconds. Well, my hope is that maybe they'll say, hey, we're going to have a talk on drugs today. And maybe the kids are all whatever, and then all of a sudden they see a blind lady come in. I've spoken at one school, Jefferson High School, regarding the meth. It's just, it was like a big eye-opening for them. And I don't know, maybe getting to see that this is how far you can go into it and how fast you can go into it. I started back up to work at CUI and started there for 16 hours a week, doing a lot of what Ruth Lazari had taught me in technology, and also what Richard Turner, the Braille teacher, had taught me. I was doing the filing for work, printing up the comma files and sending out emails or invoices and catalogs. And just basically everything that I do at work, I could not have done if it weren't for the Commission. Jim McKenzie, the owner of the company, said that if I just, stay off drugs, keep clean, and go through NA meetings and stuff like that, he would make a position there for me. And he actually paid me for the entire year while I went to the Blind Commission. Like I was working 40 hours a week. And he's made a position for me, a whole new position.
For 2 years, I faked this thing. Completely lost my sight. At that time, I was working for Intel Corporation. And just the struggle of keeping this thing hid. And on a day like today, I would have an umbrella walking around. And people would say, man, why you have that umbrella? I said, man, this is Oregon. You know, it could have rained any moment. Man, it's 70, 80 degrees out here and sunny. I said, but it's Oregon, so it could rain. So that was my cover. So I used the umbrella to walk the sidewalks to distinguish between the grassy area and the concrete. So I had all kinds of tricks. The number one thing that I dealt with was denial. Denial that this is happening. Even when the doctors had told me this was happening, I was still in denial and stayed in denial, okay? And I guess the first thing that I would say is, you know, you have to come clean and have to admit that, okay, you know, these are the cards that I was dealt. You know, I didn't deal them to myself, and I can't change the cards that I were dealt, but with the right attitude, I can change my circumstances, and I can change my situation with my attitude.
I thought that I needed glasses, so I went in to the ophthalmologist for glasses, and within 5 minutes he told me that I didn't need glasses, I needed medication for glaucoma, and it was a stunning situation for me. At first I didn't want to be seen, you know, using the cane. And ironically, I now say that next to my husband, my white cane is my very best friend, because it has opened the world for me. It's been my road to independence is using that cane. The other thing that I've done quite a bit of is the computer work at the center. And they have taught me how to use the computer using keystrokes as opposed to the mouse. And there is specialized computer software called ZoomText that I've become rather proficient at. I felt that I knew enough about ZoomText that I could show other visually impaired people if they were interested. So I currently have 2 students, and it's going very well. It's been a learning process for me. I've developed a lesson plan, and my students are happy, and I'm happy. I travel. I have traveled to New York City on my own and met my husband, checked into the hotel, met my husband. He stayed for a conference. I flew home on my own. I could not have done that without the mobility training. This has given me the confidence.
Well, I could no longer get to the grocery store. The kids were gone. That meant my driver's gone. You know, there'd be times that I would wait for a week to get a ride to town. You know, that's one of the things I love about here. I can get a bus. I may have to wait 15 minutes, and if it doesn't come right away, that's okay. It's only 15 more minutes for another one. I don't have to wait a week, and I can take care of my own self. You know, I can get around. With the commission, they taught me how to get around. I got cane skills. They taught me how to use my cane, how to navigate the sidewalk, people, traffic, getting around in the store, getting around the mall. We work for Freightliner. We make a lot of parts and pieces for their trucks that they make right here. And one of the things that we do is making these little curtain railing for the curtains, which separates the cab from the driver. You know, those little curtains that give you a little privacy or whatnot. Well, they're all on little rails, and the rails have to be riveted in, and they're all different sizes and shapes, and so they come in these long strips, and my job would be cutting them into right sizes, and then package them up and get them over to the next person who bends them, and the next person, you know, you just go down the line. And I don't have to stay at that one spot at all times. I can graduate and go on to, you know, take other different jobs. You don't get tired of it. And the guys treat me really well, and I enjoy being active, and I really like the part about being active is I'm also using it as my workout. We're racers. We race far, and we've gone far. We made it all the way up from Blind Ambition, and I made it all the way to the World Championship. That was held in Germany, Berlin, Germany. And I made it on this team, Wasabi team, and I had to try out just like everybody else. There was time trials, there was erg trials, there was running, and there were all these little, we had to paddle a little boat by ourselves. Everything was measured. And it wasn't by what you could see, it's by what you could do, your performance. You had to earn your seat. They wasn't going to give it to you. I was just really proud to be one of those, to show others there are things that we can do, and there's no limitation. The only limitation is what we put on ourselves. It's okay to be blind. I mean, not necessarily look at me, but I can do what you can do.
From serious endeavors to simple pleasures, the Oregon Commission for the Blind teaches that there are few things a blind person cannot do. Traveling, playing sports, reading books, climbing the corporate ladder, or being a successful entrepreneur. All this and more is possible. Thomas Hardy wrote, "There is a condition worse than blindness, and that is seeing something that isn't there. And by removing the blind spot and cutting through the noise of life, Oregonians will see possibility where they once saw limitations. They will see the blind as what they are, simply people."